Nothing escalates our fascination with historical figures quite like discovering they've been keeping secrets from us for centuries. Leonardo da Vinci, perhaps history's most celebrated polymath, has managed to surprise us yet again with a revelation that's been hiding in plain sight for over 500 years. In 2021, researchers using ground-penetrating radar discovered an elaborate network of tunnels beneath Milan's Sforza Castle. Tunnels that were designed by none other than Leonardo himself. This wasn't just any castle. It was the seat of power for Ludovico Sforza, one of the Renaissance's most ambitious rulers and Leonardo's primary patron during his most productive years. The discovery sent shockwaves through the historical community, not just because these tunnels existed, but because they reveal a side of Leonardo that many casual admirers might not be familiar with. Leonardo, the military engineer, the fortress designer, the man who understood the critical importance of escape routes and defensive architecture in the volatile political landscape of 15th century Italy. The tunnels, stretching for hundreds of meters beneath the castle and extending out toward key locations in Milan, were sophisticated even by modern standards, featuring ventilation systems, disguised entrances, and strategic choke points that could be defended or collapsed if necessary. But to truly understand the significance of this discovery, we need to step back in time to Renaissance Milan and examine the unique relationship between Leonardo da Vinci and his patron, Ludovico Sforza, known as Il Moro, or the Moor, for his dark complexion. When Leonardo arrived in Milan around 1482, he was not yet the legendary figure we know today. He was a promising but somewhat unproven talent from Florence, looking for steady employment. In his famous job application letter to Ludovico, Leonardo barely mentions his artistic abilities, instead focusing almost entirely on his skills as a military engineer. He wrote, "I can make armored cars, safe and unassailable, which enter the ranks of the enemy with their artillery, and there is no body of men so great that they will not break through them. And behind these, the infantry will be able to follow quite unharmed and without any opposition." Leonardo wasn't just selling himself as an artist, he was marketing himself as a military asset, someone who could give Ludovico an edge in the perpetual power struggles that characterized Italian politics of the era. Ludovico Sforza had seized control of Milan in 1480, acting as regent for his young nephew, the rightful duke. But Ludovico had no intention of relinquishing power when his nephew came of age. In fact, many historians believe he had his nephew poisoned in 1494 to maintain his grip on the duchy. This was the ruthless, calculating man who became Leonardo's patron, a man constantly concerned with security, survival, and maintaining power in a landscape filled with enemies, both foreign and domestic. When we view the newly discovered tunnels through this lens, they take on an even more fascinating dimension. They weren't just architectural curiosities or engineering exercises. They were literal lifelines for a ruler, constantly aware of potential threats. Ludovico had seen what happened to rulers who couldn't escape when their cities were invaded. Just a few decades earlier, Constantinople had fallen to the Ottoman Turks, with the last Byzantine emperor killed while trying to flee. Closer to home, Milan itself had experienced numerous coups and power struggles. Escape routes weren't a luxury, they were a necessity. Leonardo's tunnel designs reflect this practical need. The main passage, stretching from beneath the castle's central courtyard to a location several hundred meters outside the castle walls, was wide enough for a person on horseback, suggesting it was designed for rapid evacuation in an emergency. Secondary tunnels branched off to different parts of the castle, creating multiple escape options depending on where a threat might emerge. Some passages appear to have had false walls and decoy routes, early examples of what modern security experts would call defensive deception. But what makes these tunnels truly remarkable isn't just their military utility, it's their innovative construction. While most medieval and Renaissance tunnels were crude affairs dug through soil and occasionally reinforced with timber, Leonardo's tunnels incorporated sophisticated architectural elements. The main passages featured brick-lined walls and arched ceilings capable of supporting the weight above them. Ventilation shafts were disguised as ordinary wells or integrated into existing structures. Water drainage systems prevented flooding, a common problem in Milan's high water table environment. These weren't just holes in the ground, they were carefully engineered structures that reflected Leonardo's understanding of materials, load-bearing principles, and practical functionality. They represent a perfect marriage of necessity and innovation, of practical military requirements and elegant engineering solutions. The discovery of these tunnels adds a new dimension to our understanding of Leonardo's time in Milan, which lasted from approximately 1482 to 1499. While we typically associate this period with artistic masterpieces like The Last Supper, the recent findings remind us that Leonardo was doing much more than painting during these years. He was actively involved in military engineering, urban planning, and castle fortification, practical applications of his genius that have often been overshadowed by his more visible artistic and scientific achievements. Leonardo's notebooks from this period contain numerous sketches of fortifications, defensive structures, and military machines. Many of these designs were theoretical or speculative, leading some historians to question how much of Leonardo's military engineering actually made it off the page and into reality. The tunnel discovery provides a definitive answer. At least some of his defensive designs were indeed implemented, and on a scale that's impressive even by modern standards. What's particularly interesting is that these tunnels remained operational and secret for centuries. Unlike many of Leonardo's other works, which were publicly displayed or documented, the tunnels were known only to a select few. This was by design. Escape routes are only effective if potential attackers don't know about them. In this sense, the tunnels represent a different kind of Leonardo masterpiece, one created not for public admiration, but for practical private use, and one that maintained its secrecy for half a millennium. The tunnels also shed light on the complex political situation in Milan during Leonardo's time there. Ludovico Sforza was playing a dangerous game, balancing between various competing powers, including France, the Holy Roman Empire, Venice, and the Papal States. By 1499, his political maneuvering had backfired spectacularly. The French king Louis VII, who had a hereditary claim to Milan, invaded Italy with a powerful army. As French forces approached Milan, Ludovico was forced to flee, and it's entirely possible he used Leonardo's tunnels to make his escape. Initial attempts at flight didn't save Ludovico. After gathering mercenary forces in the Holy Roman Empire, he attempted to retake Milan, but was betrayed, captured, and sent to France, where he spent the last 10 years of his life imprisoned in the fortress of Loch. Leonardo, meanwhile, had left Milan shortly before the French invasion, perhaps sensing the coming political storm. The artist and engineer moved on to new patrons and projects, but the tunnels he designed remained, hidden beneath the castle and the consciousness of history. Fast forward to the 21st century, and these tunnels might never have been discovered, if not for a renovation project at Sforza Castle. When conservation architects noticed unusual structural features that didn't align with the castle's known floor plans, they brought in a team with ground-penetrating radar and other non-invasive scanning technologies. What they found astonished them: an extensive network of tunnels that didn't appear in any official documentation of the castle. Initial speculation about who might have constructed these passages quickly centered on Leonardo da Vinci, and for good reason. Not only was he known to have worked as a military engineer for Ludovico Sforza, but the sophistication of the tunnel design aligned perfectly with Leonardo's known engineering principles. Confirmation came when researchers found sketches in Leonardo's notebooks that matched specific architectural features found in the tunnels. The same distinctive arched support structures, ventilation systems, and junction designs that the radar had revealed. The discovery has prompted a re-evaluation of Leonardo's role in Renaissance Milan. While he's always been acknowledged as a court artist and occasional engineer, the scale and sophistication of the tunnel network suggests he played a much more central role in Sforza's military and defensive planning than previously thought. He wasn't just an artistic ornament at court. He was a trusted security advisor implementing critical infrastructure. This shouldn't surprise us when we consider Leonardo's broader body of work. Throughout his career, he moved fluidly between art, science, engineering, and many other disciplines, seeing no firm boundaries between these fields. The man who painted the Mona Lisa also designed flying machines, anatomical studies, urban water systems, and military equipment. The tunnels beneath Sforza Castle are a physical reminder of this intellectual versatility. They're as much a Leonardo creation as any painting or drawing, just expressed in brick, earth, and stone rather than paint or pencil. The discovery also offers a glimpse into Renaissance statecraft and the precarious nature of political power in that era. The elaborate nature of the tunnel network, with its multiple exit points, defensive features, and contingency routes, speaks to the very real dangers that someone in Ludovico Sforza's position faced. These weren't paranoid fantasies. They were prudent precautions in a time when political fortunes could change overnight and former allies could quickly become mortal enemies. For modern historians and archaeologists, the tunnels present both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, they offer a rare chance to study a Leonardo engineering project that has survived largely intact, protected by the very secrecy that was integral to its purpose. On the other hand, the fragility of these 500-year-old structures means that exploration must be conducted with extreme caution, using the same non-invasive technologies that led to their discovery. Virtual reality and digital modeling have allowed researchers to explore the tunnels without physically entering most of them, creating detailed 3D maps that can be studied without risking damage to the structures. These digital models have revealed additional features that might have been missed in physical exploration. Subtle design elements that speak to Leonardo's engineering foresight, like slightly sloped floors to prevent water accumulation and strategically placed widened sections that would allow two people to pass each other in otherwise narrow passages. The tunnels are also providing new insights into Renaissance construction techniques. Analysis of mortar samples from accessible sections shows that Leonardo was using an innovative mixture that was more resistant to moisture than typical formulations of the time, a critical feature for underground structures in Milan's damp environment. This kind of practical innovation, applying scientific understanding to solve real-world problems, was characteristic of Leonardo's approach across all his endeavors. What makes this discovery particularly significant is that, unlike many of Leonardo's designs that remained theoretical, these tunnels were actually built and used. Many of his most famous engineering concepts, flying machines, tanks, robots, were centuries ahead of the available materials and manufacturing techniques. They remained fascinating, but unrealized visions. The tunnels, in contrast, represent Leonardo's engineering mind successfully working within the constraints of Renaissance technology to create something both innovative and practical. For visitors to Milan today, the discovery adds a new dimension to Sforza Castle, already one of the city's major attractions. While most of the tunnels remain closed to the public for safety and conservation reasons, museums within the castle have created exhibitions about the discovery, featuring the scanning technology used to locate the passages and digital fly-through visualizations that let visitors virtually experience these hidden spaces. There's something poetically appropriate about the fact that these tunnels remained hidden for 5 centuries. Leonardo was fascinated by secrets, from his famous mirror writing to the alleged symbolic elements hidden in his paintings. The man who perhaps understood the power of mystery better than any of his contemporaries created a secret passage system so effective that it remained undiscovered until modern scanning technology finally revealed it. It's as if Leonardo designed not just the tunnels themselves, but the mystery surrounding them, a puzzle that would take half a millennium to solve. As researchers continue to study these passages, they're likely to uncover more details about their construction and use. Were they ever used in actual emergencies? Did anyone besides Ludovico and his most trusted advisors know of their existence? Might there be other Leonardo-designed features of Sforza Castle still waiting to be discovered? Each answer will add another piece to our understanding of Leonardo, his patron, and the dangerous world they inhabited. The tunnels beneath Sforza Castle remind us that Leonardo da Vinci was not just an artist who occasionally dabbled in other fields. He was a comprehensive genius whose mind encompassed virtually every area of Renaissance knowledge. In an age of increasing specialization, when we tend to categorize people by their primary field, Leonardo stands as a powerful counterexample, someone who moved effortlessly between disciplines, seeing connections that others missed. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this discovery is that it happened at all. After 500 years, one might assume that every aspect of Leonardo's work had been thoroughly documented and analyzed. The fact that we're still discovering major Leonardo projects in the 21st century suggests that there may be other aspects of his genius still waiting to be uncovered. The tunnels remind us that history is never completely settled, that new technologies and approaches can reveal things that have been literally beneath our feet all along. For all our modern technological advantages, we're still catching up to the mind of a man who died in 1519. As we use ground-penetrating radar and digital modeling to understand what Leonardo created with Renaissance tools and materials, we can't help but wonder what he might have accomplished with today's resources. The tunnels beneath Sforza Castle don't just connect different parts of a Renaissance fortress. They connect us directly to one of history's most remarkable minds, reminding us that genius leaves traces that can endure for centuries, hiding in plain sight until we develop the tools and perspective to truly see them.